All right, welcome back to Creative Ends. If you're just now tuning in, our show today is What is Your Plan B?
What is it?
And what made me think about that is the whole government shutdown thing.
You think it ain't got nothing to do with you?
Right.
It do.
You do. You never know. And like I said, not just the government. Your job can shut down anytime. All right, they can
Unless
say
you own it.
right.
You don't own it. You working for somebody else.
Right. So
It can happen to any of us.
It can. So you gotta own something. So I like watching the news. They're saying like how these people, since the government shut down, they're not getting paid.
And they're expected to come to work.
Yeah, expected to come to work.
Now, what kind of
mess is that?
fraganac-
I know. What kind of fraganac ball is that?
Let me get it straight. You're not gonna pay me. You know you're not gonna pay me. You know you ain't got my money, but you still expect me to come to work. And not only do you expect me to come to work, you expect me to still work well. Like you expect me to do
work
100%.
hard. that
It's
is
only
crazy.
in America. It's
Only in America.
Only in America.
So, like,
that's
and
crazy.
I'm glad, and it fits in what I do with my business.
Yes,
have a
it
business that deals with financial education,
Multiple
and
streams
we talk about my business. You know, everybody needs a plan B. You know, if you're working a job, you need to have something working for you while you're working, because if you don't have anything working for you while you're working, can you ever stop working?
Because when they lay you off, you have no money coming in.
Right. So
we all need some money coming
right.
in from other places.
And like I said, coming from that angle, you can't stop working if nothing's working for you, because you have to continue to clock in for that dollar at the same time. So do you have an emergency fund in place? And that's one of the things we talk about with my business. You need to build and start off with, a mini emergency fund. A mini emergency fund is $3,000.
Whoa, that's a mini?
That's a mini.
That's a mini emergency fund.
But
that's mini.
Then a full emergency fund should be, say, 6 months to 12 months, a year of living expenses. So think about this. So these folks, their job, the government shut down, so they're not getting paid. Nope. We don't know how long that's going to last.
Nope.
So I wonder how many of these people, do they have enough money put away
savings,
in an emergency
or they
fund,
have multiple streams of income coming in?
Yeah, to be able to survive for as long as it might be shut down. Now I heard they say it was like they had it for like a temporary. They signed a temporary a bill to allow them to come back. But then that's just temporary, so it's not, everything is not all finally in the works as far as them continue to work. So something like this happen, you got to be, because the bills still go on.
You're right about that.
Life still go on. They spill. You can't call, Verizon, Duke Energy.
Lord knows you can't call Duke Energy.
Hey, my job laid me off. The government shut down.
Okay, we'll give you another 7 days, but we won't have money in 7 days.
The government shut down, so we gonna give you a break. So as long as your job is shut down, we gonna work with you.
It's not gonna happen.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
It doesn't work like that in
It
life.
don't.
Exactly. So
you
gotta combat that. Like I say, how about this? Do you have a plan B? You have something else working for you while you're on your job. It's best to have that. So you need to have a business.
Right.
You should have, whether it be a home business or you got something else on the side that you do while you working your job.
Your passion, your hobby. Turn your hobby into a money maker. Turn your hobby. Like I said, I remember last Christmas, the teacher that I worked with at the time was actually making Christmas trees out of old books. She was making these little Christmas trees, folding it, and she taught the children at school how to make them. Guys, she was decorating this and she was selling them. So when you think about the things that you got around your house that you're able to create things from, and we're not talking about, you don't have to have this huge storefront. Everybody think you always got to start big. Well, you know what? If you do, you're not doing enough reading, because you'll find that a lot of people start selling things at the back of their car, from going to beauty salons, friends, word of mouth. People start small in their kitchen, from making fragrances to making butters and creams, hair products. These things started small. Yeah, these things started small. And when you think about all the things that you have sitting around your house that could be used for other things that you can make something out of for my creative people, these are the things. Multiple streams of income is what we're
Right.
talking about. You gotta have it.
Gotta have it, like I say, because you don't control the job. You don't own that job. So they can, like I said, they hire you, cut your hours, fire you at any given moment.
Especially cut your hours.
And
Especially cut your hours.
I know I can attest to that because I mean, I've been laid off, but about 2-3 times before in my life.
I'm trying to tell you.
So my first time was back in '05.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at a human service in the human service field at a company. This when I really first time I actually felt the layoff. Like I never thought it could happen to me. I never you knew it existed. I knew I kind of thought of it like a myth almost.
It's a myth. It's like it's a myth.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know it could happen to me.
Because growing up, during the time I was growing up, jobs were pretty much stable. The economy was pretty stable.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in the late '80s. Early to late '80s to the late '90s. That's when I was coming up. That was my childhood. And I'm from Anderson, South Carolina. So where I was from, plant jobs were still good back then. It was that was a stable job. So back then, if your parent worked at a plant job, you like, oh, y'all got good money.
Y'all making good money.
Y'all make good money. You know what I'm saying? They worked at the plant.
Yeah.
But as you see, time has changed. The world
Times changed.
Technology. World evolved.
Right.
And those jobs which were plentiful and great back then, they've been outsourced.
You're right about that.
So a lot of jobs have left that area. They still have something there, but jobs leave. Then what do you got to do? You got to either find somewhere else to work, or you got change careers, get different education, go back to school.
A lot of people are doing it, and a lot of people are doing it at later ages in life too.
Yeah.
And when I think about if you're on a job, and I know so many people, I've worked with a lot of people like this. I've seen so many people, and I'm included, that you work at a job, and because you don't have other streams of income coming in, you settle and you go to this job day in, day out. You're not happy,
right.
And you settle for it because you need the money. And let's face it, we do need the money.
Right.
But if you get yourself in that type of situation, know that you can come out of it.
Right.
And that's having multiple streams of income.
Right.
I would much rather work at a job not making a lot of money and being happy than work at a job making a lot of money and being unhappy. But let's find a way to have it all.
Yeah, let's get it all.
Let's find a way to do it all. Now, like I said, if you working, like I said, over years I've seen people that work at jobs that they don't like, that they don't enjoy, that they once did but they don't enjoy it anymore.
Right.
And you settle for it. I worked for the school system for 10 years. I went from I was a 10-month employee, went from a 9-month employee. I went from, working when having teacher work days, coming in teacher work days to, you no longer have to be in the building when the kids are not in the building. And that's just something that I had to deal with when people say, well, going from 40 hours to 37 and a half hours, not a big deal. Well, it's about $2,000 a year, a big deal. So now I'm a 9-month employee, and of course still have to find work during the summer. Right. So those are the kind of things that people deal with on their jobs. You go from working 40 to 30 or less than that. So it is important to have multiple streams of income, but like he said, it's more important to have a plan B. Right. What is your plan B? Is it going back to school? Is it having another trade? Just because you work a part-time, full-time job, is it going to get your real estate license? Is it going to get a massage license or whatever? Is it something else?
Right. And basically going back to when I was talking about the layoff, I didn't finish the whole thing, but I was relating back to my hometown. Like I say, growing up, the jobs were stable and kind of plentiful. And what I'm getting at is, we didn't hear, none of my parents, my friends' parents, never heard about a layoff. Only time I heard about a layoff was on the news. But nobody close to me had been affected by a layoff. So when this happened in 2005, I'm like, wow. And it's funny is I heard there's a buzz around the office like, hey man, you know, they're talking about, hey, they cutting around here. They cutting.
That's how it always is.
Hey man, they heard they cutting.
That's how it always is. You hear the buzz.
Well, I'm like, well, whatever. I'm like, whatever, man. You know, it ain't gonna happen to me.
Boy, you were young.
Yeah, to me.
You were young, honey.
I remember that it was a May. It was a mid-May, 2005. HR director called me in the office. Said, Mr. Singleton, we're having to cut back.
Gave you the story. They gave you the story.
Your last day working here is Friday.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, it was Tuesday, right? I'm talking about Friday that week. Right?
It happened.
He didn't mean next Friday. He didn't give me a
Did reality finally set in that this happens every day? That you're not the first, you will not be the last. Did reality sink in?
Yeah, you know, he said Friday like that week, like that. I don't get a 2-week notice.
Shoot, you better be glad you got that notice.
I know, right? It could have been.
Could be like, yeah, we're gonna have to
immediately
escort you out.
Right. Could be.
I work for a company. We got escorted out.
Yeah, that day.
But we knew it. It was
right.
all around us. You start hearing. I was at that point where I started hearing that buzz. I'm like, oh, okay. I went here and took my pictures off my cubicle. I went and took my little plant home, took my little mug home. You ain't see no more pictures. People come to my cubicle and be like, girl, what's going on? I'm looking at them like, you ain't listening.
Preparing.
Because, I was preparing. So when I left, the only thing I had to do was grab my purse. And they called me in the office. I grabbed my little purse.
Wow, he was ready.
And they escorted us out. I work for a mortgage company. The security escorted us out. I'm like, some people.
Try to flip.
I was looking at them like, okay,
so
whatever, get my unemployment.
Going back to that story, so I'm gonna take you back now. Follow the story, folks. So I got laid off, and right there, that let me know that I need to have some other income coming in besides my job.
Reality hit.
So me and a couple guys I went to school with, we talked about getting a business, and we started working on it. But as time went on, things were revealed to me that at the moment they would make the best business partner.
And that was a wise decision.
Right. So it didn't move forth with that, but I still knew I needed to have something.
Right.
So a whole year goes by now, and I was working at a summer camp, and this lady had 2 grandkids at summer camp. Mm-hmm. She picking the kids up. She said, Mr. Singleton, would you be interested in seeing how you can minimize the taxes on your income? I'm like, sure, why not?
Right.
Any way that I can save taxes, saving taxes, I mean, you saving money.
Exactly.
All right. So I sat down with her, I listened to her, and the information she shared with me blew my mind. I could not believe what I was hearing because growing up, we were not taught this.
We're
the school
not.
systems are not, they don't teach
don't teach us
my business, right? What we
about
teach.
business and money and how to handle money
because
and savings.
if they taught that, we live in a capitalistic country, folks. So if they taught that, capitalism wouldn't be able to work. If they teach that, if they start teaching you that in grade school, capitalism wouldn't function. So that's why they only teach you what they want you to know.
Of course, they only teach you what you want you to know. That's
Yeah,
why
right.
you come out, you don't know nothing.
you learn some
You
stuff,
don't know nothing.
stuff that's not necessary for life. It's not applicable. You know what I'm saying?
They don't teach you nothing. I'm sorry.
So when I saw the information, I sat down, I thought about it, and I sat down. I heard the information one more time. I heard from somebody else, but the same information, somebody else. And the second time I heard the information, it was 100% clear this was something I need to be implemented. So I got plugged in with that opportunity shortly after that. But then also, about a month in, I was in a real bad car accident. All right, and I'm getting off the subject, but it all ties in. So I'm piecing this all in because these things were happening step by step by step. So
and it can happen to anyone.
Right, I was in a real bad car accident.
Almost life.
Yeah, September 30th, a month away from my birthday. A month after my birthday, near death experience. All right, evidently, but God kept me, and I survived the accident. But I was on the shelf for pretty much the rest of the year. But then, kind of at the start of that new year, that was 2007, I actually start working some things with the business. So I've been plugged in ever since. So what I've learned in here, this is stuff we need to know, people. We have to put, like I say, we need to have a plan B because we don't own our jobs, okay? If we don't have, like I say, we don't have emergency funds set up for things like that happen, we find ourselves in holes.
Or rich parents.
Right. Rich parents.
Grandparents, rich uncle.
Yeah,
That rich
you know,
uncle.
or we got to
don't.
we have to charge things, and that's something, you know, if you got to do it, you have to do it, but you don't want to have to be in a situation where you have to charge stuff up too much because then that's interest rate and that's more money you got to pay out.
You can't say amen.
So,
say ouch. You can't say
right, so
amen.
that's why I definitely, you know, focus on when you get extra money, you know, build that emergency fund up as much as possible so that money's sitting there so when you have hard times, it makes the hard times a little bit easier to go through.
And I know we talked about the emergency fund, but it's when you think about your emergency fund, I guess it's supposed to be a sacrifice. Is emergency fund supposed to be a sacrifice?
A sacrifice?
Yeah.
Explain. What do you mean?
Okay, so you're talking about a family, say a family of 6, and I mean the family together maybe don't even bring home $35,000. So we're telling a family of 6 that's making $35,000 a year that they need to have an emergency fund of $3,000.
Well, what you need to do is, of course, they can't put away as much money as maybe somebody else who's making more. All you can do is,
What you can do.
Try to put as much for it. Then, but yeah, it's true though. It makes sense. In that case, they want to get that fund built up as quick as possible. Then you will have to sacrifice more to do that.
Okay.
But if you're not willing to make big sacrifice, you have to, you be putting little by little until you get up to there and pray to God nothing happened that you have to touch it.
Right. And that's where goals come in.
Right,
that's where your goals come in at.
Exactly.
Right. I got you.
Yep. So, what is your plan B? But we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with Creative Ends.